My name is Dionne Rashad, and I am the CEO of KDMJ Solutions. KDMJ Solutions is a firm that partners with government and corporate clients. We provide to our clients project management, training, and coaching services. I know that career coaching works because I have been coached professionally throughout my entire career. I have sought individuals to help me grow and to develop professionally. And I've also made sure that I turned around to help anybody who was coming behind me to coach, develop, and train them as much as I possibly could. For example, there's a lady that I started coaching. She was in accounting, and she wanted to no longer be in accounting. She wanted to accept a totally different role. So we went through these coaching and training sessions, and today I'm proud to announce that she is actually a program manager, which is on the project management side. So having a coach, I think, is necessary. During coaching sessions, the person who's being coached will also need to be open to feedback and open to recommendations, because without those, you limit yourself on how far you can grow and develop. I recently had an opportunity to work with people who were 50 plus going back into the workplace. Let me share with you 2 tips that I gave to them. The first tip was to be confident. If you have not interviewed in over 3 months and someone is sitting across from you or online asking you question after question after question, you can become uncomfortable pretty quickly. What I did for these individuals was to provide to them a list of interview questions that they should practice. Practicing these questions would give them a chance to rehearse their answers before they actually have to give those answers live. The first tip that I provided to them was to be confident. If you have not interviewed in a while, you will be uncomfortable when being asked question after question. So you would need to become confident. How do you become confident? Take a series of interview questions and practice and rehearse them, so that when someone is asking you that question, it's not a shock to you. You can actually answer the question in a comfortable manner. I also provided to this group of individuals a list of about 25 interview questions that they should rehearse, practice, be able to answer without a problem. The second tip that I provided to the group was to remind themselves that they're worthy. How do you know that you're worthy? Let me give you 2 examples. The first example would be to take the job posting that you're applying for, to look at the skills that are listed. Check off the skills that you do have. Now look at that job posting again. If you have 75% or more of what that job is asking for, then you are worthy not only to apply for that job, but to obtain that job. The second part of being worthy that I asked them to do was for the dollar amount. When we were going through the mock interview and I asked the lady, how much did she expect to be paid for this particular role? I could hear it in her voice. I could hear it in her answer. She was afraid to tell me $50,000 a year. If the job posting is telling you that it pays $50,000 a year, ask for that $50,000 a year. I understand at times it may be more than what you are accustomed to making. But when you go back and you look at that job posting and you have more than 75% of what it's asking for, then you are worthy of the dollar amount that's associated with it. I was actually in a mentoring session once with my mentor, and we were talking about growth and we were talking about development, and she asked me about my degree, my undergrad, and I told her I didn't have it. And she asked me, how much longer is it going to take me to get it, and why didn't I have it? And I told her I didn't know how much longer it was going to take me to get it, and I didn't need it. And she asked me, why did I not need my bachelor's degree? And I told her I did not need my degree because I am Dionne Rashad and I did not need it. And her response to me was, get out. She kicked me out of her office based upon the answer that I gave her. And she told me not to come back until I had a plan to go back to school and knew roughly when I was going to graduate. And I thought she was joking, but she wasn't. So of course I gathered my things and I walked on out. About 3 weeks later, I set up an appointment and went in, and she told me, she said, well, do you have my answers before you even come into my office? And I said, yes, I do. And so I walked in, I gave her the answers. Now, of course, I eventually finished my undergrad. But what she was trying to get me to understand is that with the organization that I was with, was that a degree was going to be required if I was going to move forward and continue to move forward with the organization. Now, what I knew at that time was that was seasonal for me and not a lifetime position. I couldn't explain it to her at the time that it was a seasonal job and not lifetime, but I just knew within me that that's not where I was going to always be. And because of where I was going, I really didn't need to have a degree, but I did end up finishing. And I actually ended up going and getting additional degrees outside of that. But, you know, her having that candid conversation with me at that time was very important. And for me to be flexible to take the advice that she was giving, even though I knew what the position was going to be, you know, and act upon it, just showed that there were going to be certain things in this path of life that I was going to have to do in order to get to my success, and I did. So there was a time in which I took a position in an industry that I knew absolutely nothing about. When I stepped into this industry, I was given a team that was the lowest performing team in the entire department. Within 90 days, that team moved from the bottom of the list to the top of the list. And let me share with you how. In going in, I did not have to know all the details of what the team was doing, but I did need to understand the process. Because to me, something was broken in order for the team not to be performing at the level in which the team could perform at. So as I started to dive into the process of what the team did, I started to modify and to change the process. I was very adamant about the changes that I needed and wanted the team to make. Now, because I was so adamant about these changes and because I was persistent in making these changes, the team called me Hammer behind closed doors. Now, I didn't mind being called Hammer because I knew that I was pushing. I knew I was asking for something different. And of course, during this time, I'm new. I even had one of my team members to come in and tell me that I didn't even know the business. And how can I make these recommendations not knowing? And I explained to that young man that day that I didn't have to know everything that they did, but I did understand numbers and I did understand process, and the process that we were doing to get the results that we needed was wrong. And I asked him to give me time to change that process, and he did. When I changed that process and our team became #1 in the department, 80% of that team transferred out and were promoted to other positions. You don't always have to know everything in which the team needs to do. But when you can actually go in and streamline a process and make that process a lot easier, it's so much better for everybody involved. Someone asked me, when was my very first coaching session? And I had to think about that for a little bit. My very first coaching session was given to me by my mom. She left with me 2 major lessons that I still use today. The first lesson that she taught me in the first session that we had was on believing in me. I was trying out for varsity cheerleader and I was nervous. because we had to go in front of the student body, and the student body had to vote on us. So I was extremely nervous. So my mom came up that day and brought the items that I would wear for trying out. And it was white, all white. White shirt, shorts, socks, shoes, all of it. And as she handed me my clothes, she was telling me that I needed to believe in me. That if I believed that I could do it, that it would be done. She believed that I could do it, but I also needed to believe that I could do it. So I took my clothes and I went in, changed, went out in front of the student body, did my cheers, and of course I made it. But what it reminded me that day was that if I believed in myself, regardless of what was going on, regardless of on how big the mountain was, how small the mountain was, if I believed that I could do it, then I could do it. And if I stuck to my belief and believing that I could do it, that there would be nothing that could stop me. The second lesson that she gave me was to ask how. I said, what do you mean by ask how? She told me that if someone was doing something that I wanted to do, that was a goal, something I wanted to achieve, and someone was actually doing it, go in and ask them, how did they do it? Now, she prepared me because she told me that there would be people who wouldn't give me any answer at all. She said there would be people that would give me some of the answers, but not all of them. But she said that there would also be people that would help me in how they got there and give it to me step by step on how they got there. Now, I would have to modify it according to me, of course, but at least I had a roadmap. And those key lessons really and truly unlocked my potential. When I really sat down and I started to implement each one of these lessons, and I understood these lessons after I lost her, it was the key. It was the key for me to obtain the job that I wanted, to step out and to do my own business. It was the key that would unlock everything for me. And I got those keys. I got those keys so early in life. At first, I didn't know what to do with them. But I held on to them. I did not let them go. But now I know what to do with those keys. So when I combine asking and believing in me, there's nothing that can stop me. Let me share with you an example of that. At one point, I also took on another job. And in this role, I was growing, I was developing. It was just so rampant. So I went into the director and I asked her, I said, hey, I need someone that can be my mentor. And she said, I'll do it. And I said, no, I know your schedule's busy. I know that you have a lot on your plate. You're the director. You're the second person in this facility. But she said, yeah, I'm doing it. So I went back and I scheduled time to meet with her. And when I went in, I created a mentor and a mentee booklet. And we began our sessions. And she poured into me and she just gave me so much information that helped me to grow even more. A few months later, the mentee-mentor relationship that she and I started, she created one for the entire organization. Now, had I not believed in me, had I not knocked on her door and asked her for some assistance, the other people in my department, the other people in the organization never would have had access to a mentoring program because there wasn't one. Again, these keys that my mom gave me years ago were the keys that unlocked my success and my potential.